enthusiastic Tesla owner and cheerleader for that technology, all EV technologies. Can you give the listeners some insight into how rapidly this EV market will grow and how the competition in the electric vehicle space might aim to catch Tesla's lead?
And well put, Peter. That's exactly the situation in the EV market at the moment. Tesla is far ahead of the competition, and everyone else is battling to try and at least keep up, if not catch up. So a perfect example, VW, Volkswagen, headed by Herbert Diess, who came into VW during 2015 during the Dieselgate. He convened 31 of the top level executives across Audi, Porsche and VW back in about a year ago, in May 2020. They sat in a room with whiteboards with and a blank bit of paper, and the name of the workshop was Mission T. So for 3 days, they sat down and tried to brainstorm how to catch Tesla by 2024. And VW, shouldn't pick on VW. VW is probably the most advanced out of the legacy automakers when it comes to making that shift to EVs. In Australia, we're a little bit shielded from what's happening around the world, especially in Western Australia. But to give you an example, in Norway, 79% or 4 out of 5 new cars sold are electric or have got a plug. So that doesn't include non-plug-in hybrids. So it's only plug-in hybrids and pure EVs. So that's 4 out of 5 cars. Just on the last earnings call, Elon Musk mentioned that the Model 3 is now the best-selling car globally in the luxury car market. So it's outsold BMW Model M3, which was the leader, and the Mercedes E-Class and the 2 Audis. So he's also made mention in terms of looking forward that the Model Y, he predicts, will be the best-selling car in the world, period. So includes trucks, utes, petrol cars, diesel cars, and he thinks that will occur by 2022. By the end of 22, he said it's more likely than not. So what I would say is that there's a tsunami of disruption that we're right on the cusp of this exponential curve, and in Australia, this tsunami is right on our shores. And I think it's going to catch a lot of people by surprise, including the markets. The markets in the US were taken by surprise by Tesla's progress in this area. So, yeah, I think there will be a lot of disruption in Australian markets coming soon too.
And so Elon's an interesting bloke, and it'd be a brave person to bet against him, really, even though he makes some fairly out there sort of claims.
Absolutely. Look, and that's where analysts have really struggled with trying to put a price target or trying to put a valuation on Tesla, in that Elon has these projections and he says these things out there, in the future, which just seem crazy at the time that he says some of these things. His compensation package is a perfect example. So he hasn't taken a cent from Tesla. So I think the regulations state that he has to be paid as a CEO, but I don't think he's cashed a single one of his checks.
$1 or something, I think.
Yeah. So his interests are 100% aligned with the company. But so he said, look, don't pay me a cent until we reach these milestones, which at the time that his compensation package was set, were just seen to be just absolutely crazy. But he's cashed in about 70% of that compensation package now.
So, Pete, the Tesla energy story, how is the artificial intelligence leading the charge there? Because you were talking about Volkswagen and others trying to catch up, but is it Tesla's, is it their engineering or is it their AI that's really driving the product?
It's those two and all of the above. So it's the best way to explain Tesla's lead in the AI or in the self-driving is Tesla's got about 30 billion miles of recorded driving in its database. So AI is all about data. So data is king. So its next closest competitor, which is Google with its Waymo product, has got around 20 to 50 million. So that's a 1,000-fold lead in terms of data. So, and if you look at any of the surveys of graduate engineering or tech students in unis as to what are their most favoured companies to work for, continually it's Tesla and SpaceX that top that list. So not only, so he's got 17 billion in the bank, he's got the most talented engineers working for him. He's got this huge lead in data. They're already miles ahead. So they're maybe weeks away. Elon mentioned on Twitter, a couple of weeks away from releasing version 9 of the autopilot or the city streets full self-driving capability. There's about 1,000 people that have had access to the older version. One of them put on YouTube a 5-hour drive of his Tesla, leaving his driveway, stopping at stoplights, going through roundabouts, going on highways, traffic lights, the whole lot. And he only had to take over in a niche situation in a car park for about 20 seconds or so. So, this is another exponential curve, and we're right on the cusp of that. So, VW, trying to catch Tesla, they're concentrating just sort of mostly on the EV part. So, obviously, they're looking at the autonomous part as well, but that's what Mission T was mainly about.
And so with the whole idea of artificial intelligence is it grows exponentially. So by the time Volkswagen gets to where Tesla is today, Tesla will be even further ahead, I would imagine. So just finally, Pete, is Australia prepared for this coming electric vehicle and, solar energy revolution? And what opportunities do you see for here in Australia? I mean, obviously, mining, making precursors and things like Benjamin's doing, but what other opportunities are there?
Oh, look, we are the lucky country after all. And when it comes to this next phase of industrialization, if you like, I think we'll continue to be the lucky country. We've got some of the best solar resources of any continent in the world. We've got great wind resources with the roaring 40s down along the bottom of Australia. Pretty much anything in the ground that you need to mine a battery, we have in spades. So you heard Ben mention, his company alone's got a lot of the a lot of the minerals and needed for but Tesla uses NCA batteries, and now they're looking at the lithium iron phosphate batteries as well for the Model 3s made out of China. We've got a stable political system, if you like. We've got the knowledge base. We've got the space. There's nothing that Australia doesn't have to really be a leader in this space, except one thing, which is political leadership.
And charging stations and a few other things like that.
To give credit where credit is due, so the WA state government has committed $21 million to a statewide charging network, which is going to be started and finished by 2022. So then they will only leave South Australia, which is very close behind. They've already committed some funds. And so Northern Territory is going to be the only state in Australia that hasn't actually got a proper statewide and state government funded charging network. So, and as Elon has always said, they've always had a supply problem. They've never had a demand problem. If you want more demand for electric cars, you just put in the chargers and then the cars come. It's not a chicken and egg situation. It's a charger first, because people aren't silly. They're not going to buy a car if they can't charge it. That said, most people charge at home. But for long trips, etc., you need the chargers. You put in the chargers and the cars will come.
That's right. And Elon basically down on his hands and knees begging people to make more nickel. So Benjamin's over to you. Just, get in there and make some nickel for Elon. I think that'll be great. So look, we've come to the end of our time. I think I'd love to get Benjamin back in 6 months or so when he's dotted the I's and he's really got all the offtakes and everything in place. I'll be looking forward to seeing what the drilling comes up with in Broken Hill as well. And I'm sure we'll see more of you, Peter Petrovsky, over the months, and we can keep up with what's happening on the electric vehicle front, and also with your consultancy on the energy, sort of megawatt size consultancies that you're doing for industrial consumers here. So thanks both for coming into Stockhead today, and we'll look forward to catching up in 6 months' time.
Thanks for the opportunity, Peter.